I am Seth Baylor. I have been here for 6 years. I am the CEO, they call it, but I do a little bit of everything. It dates back to my great-great-grandfather that started the farm. Adolph Baylor was the original owner or started the farm back in 1890. He was actually from Illinois and he moved east. Usually farmers move west because there's more land out there, but during the 1890s there was a drought in the central Illinois, central part of the United States. So he moved east because he had family here and there was some land and there was people to buy cows or buy the product. So he was a farmer, he moved east, started a little farm, 12 acres, had a house, and he milked a few cows, did tobacco, potatoes, and just kind of a typical farmer back in the 1800s. From that point on, he had two sons that took on more, got into more dairy, and through the 30s grew into the more of a dairy, but also did potatoes, tobacco, and they bought a few neighboring farms, so they had more land and more ground to farm. Then it went to my grandfather, his brother, and their cousin. My grandfather had a 40-cow farm, which was probably typical at the time in Tolland, Connecticut, and his brother had another farm right in Ellington, where the main farm was, in Ellington, Connecticut. And in the 60s, they decided to build one central location for my grandfather's 40 cows and the 60 cows that were in Ellington to have their herd combined at 100 cows, and they decided to double their size at 200. And I hear stories in the 60s where my grandfather never thought they could ever fill that barn because, going from 100 to 200, that's doubling the production of their farm. So that was a big step for them. It was about 6 years later, after they built their first barn, 6 years later, they combined both farms. And then in the 1970s, my grandfather and then my dad and uncle and cousins were more involved, and they bought the neighboring farm in 1970 something. And they now were running the 200 cow farm, plus they bought the neighboring farm. So they were, at that point, they really were getting into more dairy focus in the other things that they used to do, but they let other farmers do that, and they focus more on dairy and the cows and producing milk. So they bought the neighboring farm. They were stepping back a little bit. So Ellington, Connecticut was actually called the milkiest mile in America. On Route 83 from Vernon to Summer, so that's the stretch in Ellington. There's more dairy farms in Ellington, Connecticut than anywhere else in the country. I have a map that shows about 43 dairy farms along that stretch. So the milkman was busy in those times picking up milk from each of the farms. And now today, from those 43, there's 2 farms left. So the industry really consolidated. We still are a farming town. We have a lot of those family roots are still in here. They still understand the work that goes into it. But now, there's attorneys and doctors and they still need local food. So we're the farmers and they're the doctors and attorneys, and we provide the food. So it kind of consolidated all those farms from 1960 all the way to 2019. We've really focused on dairy. The dairy industry has really, it goes in cycles, and there's good years, mediocre years, and bad years. Good years, mediocres, and bad years. And my dad and uncles were getting up closer to 60, and they didn't know where the farm was going. Not a lot of next generation was involved, so they actually reached out to some of the next generation, and a few of us got more involved at that time. Once we figured out the dynamics between the family and how the business was going to be run, we then decided, hey, we're in this thing for the long term. We want to be in it for another 50 or 100 years, and we need to create a sustainable dairy farm, which is efficiencies, cow comfort, air quality, wind quality, environmentally friendly, actually environmental stewardship. So we want to, be as sustainable as possible, and actually, we want to leave the farm better to our children than we have it today. So we want to actually do a better job for the environment so they're in a better position. So we invested quite a lot of money to build a new facility, and we wanted to, again, go after those, labor efficiencies, and then cow comfort, and then, building a facility that's going to be environmentally friendly. So that's when we built that dairy in 2017. It took us about 9 months to build, At that point, we did bring on some additional ownership to some of our employees and close business owners that believed in the business and providing food. So we actually expanded our business structure, so we had more people involved, which just changes the dynamic a little bit. So it's a little bit more, it's still family owned, but now we have some employees ownership, and it just gives more skin in the game for all of us, so we can all try to make a great place to work, a great place to provide good, wholesome products to the community and to our consumers. So like Ellington, we all go to the same church together. We're all like family some way or another. As for the original owners, there is a few balers that work here. Some of the previous generation is working more part-time or on their transition driving truck, letting the younger guys make the decision. So it's they've put a lot of trust in us, and it's really...
So you're the 5th generation?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So yeah, 130 years. We have a wonderful team of, very talented people. David oversees the dairy production. He's an amazing person. He has amazing people working for him. John oversees the crops. Heidi oversees the office. We have just a really good group of people. And it's been stressful. Farming is not an easy industry to be in. It's not easy. Decisions aren't easy. Cash flow is not always easy. It's kind of too bad because farmers work really hard to produce a good, wholesome product, but we're usually the last person to get paid. So, and we're in a commodity business, so commodities, it's all controlled on federal orders, and the government really controls the pricing. Cheap food is an economic driver for our nation. So the cheaper the food is in the nation, the better the economy does. Well, the farmer usually gets the short end of the stick, and it's a supply and demand. So we have to just do everything as efficient as possible, and do the right thing for the girls so they produce good milk that we can sell and have a really good quality product. I grew up in this house here where our office is. So this was actually been through the family. For my dad's great uncle lived here, and then his cousin lived here, and so it's gone through the family. And I actually grew up here, born and raised, worked with my dad some on the farm, but never really wanted to be a part of it. It was a lot of hard work. You see the amount of effort that gets put into it, and just never got me going. It never made me want to wake up in the morning. So I actually got a few jobs in high school and worked a few different places, and then after I graduated, I said I'd like to work for myself. So when I was just graduated, my brother was working for himself mowing lawns and was doing really good. I'm like, hey, I can try to do that. So I started a fence company and did fencing for 6 years. That's when the family was looking for help, and I liked the business side of it, and it just so worked out that I came on at that point in 2013 and work more on the business side. That's the side that gets me excited, is what the future is and how to build not only a dairy farm, but a great business with great people. That's exciting and rewarding for us, or for me. And now I love what I do. It's really fun. It's definitely stressful, especially when you're trying to pay bills. And the dairy market, we're getting paid some of the same prices they were getting paid back in the 1970s. So we're trying to make milk for the same price they made it back in the 70s. And it's not that milk consumption has gone down. It's just everybody's gotten so good at it. It's a commodity, and we've gone from with trucking and shipping, and we're in a global market right now. So our price is reflected on if China stops buying from us. So that's where we have to be really good at what we do. And it's sad because we're all competing against each other. Where farmers are, they love what they do, and we're all trying to compete against each other. And the sad thing is you have to be better than your neighbor, because at the end of the day, the last person standing is going to be making it. And it's driven consolidation, and it's had a lot of families over the past several years have, really had to make some hard decisions on, there were 691 dairy farms in Wisconsin alone that went out of business. Almost 3,000 dairy farms in the U.S. went out of business last year. So it's really changed since I've been in it. It's just like we have to be a leader. If not, we're going to fall behind. So we have to be a lot of innovation. Consumers are driving things. Transparency. We're, just having people out like you to come through our farm. We feel that being transparent is super important because consumers want to know and need to know, and we want to show them what we do because there's so many moments that we can show, like with the compassion that we have for animals. And if we are trying to hide things, then people don't know what you're doing and assume the worst. So we have a lot of great people that are super compassionate and passionate about animals, and so we like to show those moments. And there is bad things happen everywhere, and sometimes the media takes things the wrong way or shows the dairy industry in the wrong light. We love our animals, our people love our animals. We have about 14 or 15 veterinarians that work on site for us, so it's like there's a lot of compassion for animals, and we're just trying to make a living to produce great. And how we're making a living is wholesome products. There's a nutritionist dietitian just told me this. If you had to live on one product for the rest of your life, milk has the most nutrients to fulfill all your needs. So milk, dairy is a good for your body, and just a lot of different media has changed that and marketing has changed that. But at the end of the day, we still feel like we have a good product. We're in the dairy business. We produce 4 tanker loads of milk. We've had a lot of people over the past few years ask how do they get our products. We send it all as a commodity, so it goes to a milk plant and it's bottled under a lot of different names, pooled with the other milk. We've never had the opportunity to get our products to our community, and we felt like that connection is super important for public relations, but also there's consumers out there that want to know where their food comes from. So we saw an opportunity to build a local market that we don't know where it will lead us. So we looked at it in a way where how do we get our products out to our consumers? And that's where we decided, hey, we need to think outside the box or inside the box, where we actually said, well, we need to be online based. The convenience is super important, and that transparency and the local are super important, and quality is super important. So how do we blend all those together and create, business around that? So that's where we started exploring different ways to get our milk into a way where we could deliver it, the home delivery, the old milkman approach in a new age. So we came up with the Modern Milkman, which is an online store where you can get fresh local products, which is our milk. So Oakridge dairy milk goes into it, but then we have teamed up with other dairies and local businesses to get other products, fresh products off a farm from a local business, no middleman. We have eggs, butter, yogurt, cheese. We have now cookies in there. We want to add on some more products throughout the summer and as we grow, but we take it all, we bring it into the farm. Here, freshness is super important. We bring it in, we put it in a package, and we bring it to your doorstep the next day. So it's like coming to the farm, packaged, put in a box where it's insulated. It's a cardboard box, insulated tote, put an ice pack on top of it, and our milkman service delivers it. You order it on your app or on our website, which is really easy to use. Going into it, we wanted to create a easy way for people to buy our products, and that's what we designed. So it's super simple to use. It sends out notifications, and we did take the glass bottle route because that's kind of the old-fashioned Modern Milkman style, but it's actually coming back. It's new. It's a new age because recycling is so important. So glass bottled milk we're recycling that glass or reusing that glass, where we put it through a bottle washer, put our milk in there, put it in the box, ship to your house. You use it, put the milk bottle back into the box, into the insulated tote. We take all that back to the farm. We wash the bottle out. We make sure the boxes are still good, and then we put the products right back into it. So it's recycling, reusing the bottle, and we just see a lot of opportunities just connecting with the consumers. Part of this also is we've created an opportunity for people to donate as well, where they can take that Modern Milkman box, and if they're on vacation or have too much in their fridge or feeling generous, they can, as simple as text donate, and it will donate their box that was going to come to their house that week to a local food pantry. It's just a great way for people to connect to the food pantries and the communities. Food pantries don't get fresh local products, so it's like they love it because it's a good way for them to donate good products. Going into it's like, how do we build a CSA for dairy? And we need to do home delivery because people like that convenience, and it's the nostalgic of old modern milkman. Yeah.
You have
So
like that 1950s milk truck
we don't. We're
working out.
we have reliability. We're actually, with our website, it has the logistics, so we can actually make around 150 stops in one day. We have a pretty good logistics routing system, so we need something dependable and reliable. But our milkman, he delivers in the old white hat and the white coat. So yeah.
Nice.
We started in 2019 January, and we started a pilot, and then after the pilot started, we opened up Ellington, and then just recently we opened another 5 towns, so Stafford, Vernon, Somers, Tolland, Union, and Broadbrook we opened. So we're open in 6 different towns, and so far so good. We have over 200 people signed up. It's a subscription, but you can turn it on and off whenever you'd like it. So if you're getting too much in the fridge and you don't want to donate, you can just pause it for the week. How it is you have a full share or half share, and you can put in whatever you want. So full share is 6 items, half share is 4 items. And if you want all milk one week, you can get 6 milks. My wife and I, we get 2 milks, cheese, and yogurt every week. And that's what I eat for breakfast, and the cheese of the week is, we'll serve it for having an appetizer, or we'll eat it during the week. So it just depends on what comes, but you can now get cookies in there. So from a local bakery, we're hoping to get bread in there. It's just and every week you can choose what you want to put in it. If you don't make any changes, you'll get the same thing over and over. Transparency is super important. We have brought in thousands of people through the dairy. We want to get more public friendly, where we can have a tour every single day. We're not to that point yet. We were doing Saturdays, but there's some things that we're working through with the town. But our end goal would be to bring people through. They can sign up online, take a tour of the facility, see how cows are milked, educate on modern day farming, and show all the moments that people can't see, where compassion is being carried through. So we have cows, people love animals, and we have a really special place that we'd like to show and showcase, because it's a state-of-the-art farm, and we want to show. People don't understand, we've been working with cows for 130 years. We understand how they work and how they act and what they like and what they don't like, and we just hope to show others what we do every day, and it's important for people to come in and see that. So we're not quite there yet, but our goal would be very soon to open the doors for people to sign up for tours every day.
I'm Johnny Hoffman, and I'm the crop manager at Oakridge Dairy, and I've been here since April 2014. So I worked here as a kid raising calves and milking cows, and then in 2000 I worked for a fertilizer company and worked there for 8 years, and I became a consultant, kind of like an agronomist, and I consulted with the farm from 2002 till 2008. I left that company and then went on my own business, Johnny's Ag Services, as a seed dealer, fertilizer dealer, and agronomy work with other farmers, taking soil tests. And I worked with Oakridge Dairy, at the time was Baylor Farms, from 2008 till they hired me in 2014. Typical day depends on the weather. Weather is everything in this business, and very seasonal work. So a typical day for me is really more management of people. So we have 7 people that work in the crops, and it's kind of overseeing that their tasks are being accomplished, but then kind of at a higher level, making sure we have enough land to plant, enough seed, fertilizer, and keeping up with where we are farming and what pieces. So it's kind of a bigger picture of the whole piece. 50% of my time is probably in office. We use a software program called Granular that tracks everything we do to every single field, and no person does anything to any field unless it's recorded. So we always have a record of what we do to every field year over year. So a lot of time is spent more software, and there's other apps out there to help us determine how our crop is growing in the field. So there's a lot of new technology today where it's not so much physically actually just in the field, but a lot of desk work in these different new technology programs. So our season would start as soon as the crop comes off the ground. So in our case, we harvest about 2,000 acres of silage. And as soon as the crop is off the field, we would go and put a cover crop on the field. And a cover crop is just simply to hold the soil in place so we have no erosion, but also any leftover nutrients. The cover crop is actually a crop that we plant that would suck any leftover nutrients out of the soil. So that's really where it starts. And as soon as that crop is off and the soil is growing with the cover crop, we would take a soil test, analyze the soil, and if it would need limestone, we would apply it in the fall. Other than that, the soil would pretty much be put to bed until springtime. In the springtime, we would apply some dairy manure to the field, and then we were waiting for 50-degree soil temperature to plant corn. We're 100% no-till. We don't till any of the fields. So we have what's called a row cleaner on the corn planter that just simply moves the cover crop out of the way about 3 inches, and we plant seed right in that 3-inch zone, and then we would come in and terminate the cover crop after. But we don't till the field at all. Everything we plant is for our own feed. We don't sell any feed off the farm. A little bit of silage, but everything is primarily for our dairy cows.
Yeah.
The weather is everything. Anytime we do anything, especially when we also have about 1,000 acres of hay, and we harvest that 4 times a year. So that starts in May, again in June, and we do it in August, and one more in October. And that we need to have dry when we're doing it. So it's a constant struggle, especially in New England, because if you're not sure what the weather is, just wait 5 minutes. It's difficult, but we're always watching the weather. I love agriculture, but especially when you can see something you do at the beginning and follow it all the way through until the end of harvest, and then there's a downtime. So I'm very much a seasonal person. I could never work a 6 to 4 job or 7 to 5. I could never do it. I work with seasons and the weather, so it's a good lineup. But I love planting. Springtime is an awesome time of the year. It's just in my blood. I don't know how to describe it. When our specific crops are corn silage, so we have 2,000 acres of corn that we plant every spring, harvest every fall, monitor it throughout the growing season. Hay is a perennial crop, so it comes, once we seed a field down the hay, it automatically comes up year over year. We don't reseed or plant a hay field. And that hay field, we cut it. First cutting is always in May, and we would go through, we have a 37-foot tractor that has a mower that we would cut the hay flat down. We would let it dry for a day, day and a half, and then we gather it together in rows. And then we harvest it, chop it up to about 3/4 of an inch length, and chop it into trucks, bring it to the dairy and make a pile, and then cover it, seal out all the air in it. And we're about 30 to 40 days in between every cutting. So we start in May, we do another one in June, the end of July, beginning of August, depending on the weather, and then one more after we harvest corn in October. I see Oakridge Dairy in the future being here. We've invested for a 50-year plan. We have something that's extremely unique, and that is we farm a lot of acres in a lot of towns, and we have a ton of neighbors. And for the most part, we've been here long enough that people like us and want to see open space, open fields. And I think that's what makes Ellington unique, is somewhat rural and a lot of open space. And hopefully they can put up with a little cow manure smell once in a while, because there's a little give and take there. But a ton of neighbors we have here, that makes us unique, and we've been here. I think we're here to stay.
I'm David Moser. I have been at Oakridge for 2 years now, and I oversee the day-to-day operations on the dairy, so I'm the dairy manager. So I started at Oakridge 2 years ago, or I guess it's 3 years ago now, as a construction manager. So I oversaw the construction for the new facility, and after the construction kind of ended, I moved into maintenance, and then a position opened as a dairy manager, and I moved into that. Some days I say I'm a firefighter, so I just help. I help wherever's needed. Some days it's putting out fires, some days it's helping with the little tasks, And some days it's planning, where we're going in the future, what the steps are next. A lot of it is just making sure the daily tasks get done and then planning so that the people know where our goals are, what we're projected to hit. So I oversee all of the animals that we have at Oakridge and offsite, and then I oversee all the people that take care of the animals. So I have animal problems and then I have people problems. I love the people here dearly. They are what makes it happen. Each person is very needed and we couldn't do without anybody, so it's really the team that makes it all happen. I think as Oakridge Dairy, I see it as a successful dairy for years to come. Where I see myself in that picture, I'm not exactly sure. My goal as a manager has always been able to train someone to do my job better than I can do it myself. So work myself out of a job basically is kind of my mission, and that's not because I don't want a job, it's because I feel like if I can teach someone to do the job better than me, I've been successful. I overemphasize to my people and to everyone else that it's really about the team. Oakridge is a team or a family. I don't prefer, whatever one you prefer is fine, but team or family, it takes every person. So with an operation that runs 24/7, we have people that work in the night, we have people that work in the day. And if the night crew does a bad job, then the day crew has work to pick up and vice versa. So it's really about everybody working together. And on a dairy farm, I can't stress that enough, it's about the team and about the culture we build here. And I believe that we set ourselves apart with our culture, and that allows us to do above and beyond what other places are able to do.
Sure, I'm Heidi Saragoni, the office manager for Oakridge Dairy. I was doing bookkeeping part-time, and the owners then were looking for some help in the office. And I was doing part-time bookkeeping work for other companies, and they called and asked if I would have a day that I could help them out too. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And then they ended up retiring, and I sort of took over. So it was kind of
So they
nice
reached out to
yeah,
you.
They did. We're cousins. They're my cousins, so there's a family relation there. So
Okay, because
Yep.
I
live
live
in Arlington. Yep, right down the street on Egypt Road. So yep, not far away.
That's convenient.
Yes, it is. I could ride my bike, but usually the car wins.
And of course, like Seth said, this is a 365-day operation. So
It is.
now. Are you here 5 days a week? How does
I'm
that
typically
work?
here 4 full days, and then if something needs to be done, I'll come in, or a Saturday. We're all flexible. Make sure that everything gets taken care of, done. I do have some help. My sister comes in on a couple days, just so that there's coverage if I'm away or she's away. So we kind of trade tasks, do payroll and that kind of thing.
Okay, so and that was my next question
Yes.
was what is involved during the day-to-day
So Mondays
operations?
is a payroll day. So we take all the hours of everybody who works on the farm. We're getting to be 47, 48 employees now. That's fully in part-time. We have a few part-timers. And then the payables, which is a big part of our task, is to make sure everybody gets paid on time. Receivables, we have a few farms that we do sell products to, and so we collect those bills. So your typical office type things. Yeah. Keeping track of cow numbers and feed numbers. They just brought me the tally of what we have on hand for inventory. We do an inventory adjustment every month to how much straw or cornmeal do we have on hand. And so keeping track of that is a fun part of it. I enjoy that part of it.
I was gonna say
I could never guess. I mean, they can tell by looking at the pile how much is there, but for me, it's harder to see. Visually, I can't do that. So, the guys who do the feeding do the inventory and tell me how much do we still have on hand at the end of the month. So, Yep.
So did you ever see yourself in this position? Like if you
no, not really. I mean, I've lived in town all my life, and I've driven by, and it's a farm. They have cows and they make milk. I had absolutely no idea how much really went into it between the feeding and the technology and growing the corn and all the different parts of it. It's really pretty complex and pretty advanced in terms of use of technology and that type of thing. So it was very interesting, and I'm still learning. I'm the one at the meeting asking now, what does that mean? So I enjoy the learning part of it, and saying, well, what do you mean by that? What's that mean? Cull cows or something like that. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay. So now, with the day to day, is it mostly, so you do payroll?
I do.
But
Yep.
then you keep track of,
The bills coming in,
Yep.
and then just getting them queued up so that when we do get our milk check and we get paid, then we can pay our vendors. Another part that I take care of is all the HR stuff. So when we have new employees, taking care of their paperwork and their health insurance, and I was just helping one of our employees to try to find an apartment, you know. So we kind of act as a liaison. A few of our employees, or actually a good portion of them now, come from Mexico on a visa. So he would like to bring his wife here. So I was trying to help him find. He lives on site right now in one of our houses, but when his wife is here, they want their own place. So I was just
Yeah.
helping him with that.
oh, that's
So
nice.
that's part of it, helping them get their bank accounts and their social security numbers and everything, all their papers, so that they can, when they live here, they can enjoy being in New England and not just be so fixed on making money and sending money home. So
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so you're really the face behind.
I do. I get to
Behind
greet
everything.
people coming in the door here and send them wherever they need to go, whether it's deliveries, and sort of just act as a buffer, or act as a filter maybe, so that people will know where to go. So sorry you hear that the radio in the background there. That's the way that they communicate with the guys in the barn. So it's harder to answer a cell phone, but they do use a
Right,
two-way
right.
radio system. So that's the sound you're hearing in the background.
Oh wow. So you keep up with, so the guys keep up with inventory, and like you keep
Right.
up with like the
Right,
numbers.
I know the paperwork, yes. So I
Yeah.
know what we actually received, and we have a computer program that keeps track of what we feed the cows. So at the end of the month, it should come out right, and I just make sure that it does, and sort of do an audit and make the entries in the bookkeeping system so that it stays, you know, how much the cows are given for milk, but we also know how much we fed them, so we can always adjust our inputs and so forth. So
And now with the launching of the modern milkman,
Yes, yep.
how do you play a role in
yeah,
that?
I take care of the bookkeeping on that as far as paying the bills and collecting the. We have a program that takes care of the online orders, so monitoring that and making sure that the monies get deposited or people get credited if they need a credit. And yeah, it's fun to watch that grow. It's really quite exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
I was one of the first in the pilot program to sign up, so
Oh, yeah.
I've been getting it since January, and I tell you, I would really miss it if I didn't have it now.
Oh wow, yeah.
So,
'Cause
yeah, between
very
the milk and the eggs, and John likes the cookies, so I have to make sure to remember to order cookies in my order.
Oh, that's funny. Anything else you feel like we missed?
Not at this point.
Where do you see Oakridge Dairy for the future?
Oh, definitely a big player in the industry. There's a lot of creative ideas happening with researching the digester, with recycling the manure and creating energy. I see this modern milkman program where we're reaching out to the customer, really growing into its own self-sustaining business. I think it's got a bright future if we can continue to be as efficient as possible as far as making the milk, and then treating those girls in the barn, you know, with the queens, sometimes we call them. They're really the engine that runs this whole thing, because the milk is what pays our bills. Between the interviews that you've done too, I mean, these young guys, they're half my age. They really have some creative ideas and have some really good long range planning going on. So I think we got a positive future, definitely.